Ezekiel, the fourth book of the major prophets after Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Lamentations. If you know much about Ezekiel, you've heard of the Valley of Dry Bones and possibly the Temple of Ezekiel that was never built. But who was Ezekiel, and what was his message about? When Judah fell to Babylon, Ezekiel, like the other Judeans, was taken into exile. A few years after he was taken, God called him as a prophet. He served for 22 years and was never able to return home. While the other exiles searched and hoped for a way to escape their captivity early, they listened to false prophets who told them they would go home soon. Only Ezekiel told them the truth, that they would not see home again until they had returned to the Lord and said sorry for their sins. The beginning of Ezekiel was about the law, about what the Jewish people needed to do to turn back to God. People didn't listen. A few years later, the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians. Ezekiel continued his ministry, now to also try and comfort God's people as they finally began to turn back to him. While all that went on, what was Ezekiel about? Well, we can learn a little just from Ezekiel's name. It means God strengthens. Ezekiel's job was to help strengthen God's people while they were trapped in exile. He described more than any other Old Testament book how the Holy Spirit helps us by creating faith within us. Much of Ezekiel was written about the far future, some things that even have yet to happen. Ezekiel wanted to remind God's people that God would never abandon them. In fact, 65 times in the book of Ezekiel, God instructs Ezekiel to say one thing. Then they will know that I am the Lord.